Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the STEM Lockdown Digital School. This is Coding for Grade 7, and I am your presenter, Mr. Paul de Klerk. There's my email address on the screen, so if you want to write that down, if you have a notebook with you, you can do it. Or if you would like to take a screenshot or a screen capture, then you can do that as well. And then you can send me through any questions that you might have, or you can send me some examples of the puzzles that you guys are finishing with us. So I see many new faces and not new faces, new names today. The chat has been quite busy, so I didn't catch all of the names, but that's okay. So I just want to quickly, before we get going, for those of you that are new, we need to keep our cameras off. Otherwise, it blocks my screen and then I can't see what I want to try and show you. And then the chat, I think you've had enough time now to say hello to everyone and meet everyone. From now on, let's try to keep the chat clear and only talk about the lesson at hand. We want to allow some students the chance to ask questions, and I will ask you questions, and then I need you to have the chat box empty so that I can see the answers coming through. So if you are new to coding, we are quite far ahead in the lessons that we are doing on this platform, but you can go back and start with lesson number 1 on your own. The platform can teach you how to get to where we are. When I am doing it with you, it's just easier because I explain to you what is happening. Whereas if you do it only on the platform, sometimes it only tells you what something does and where to put it. It doesn't tell you exactly why things work the way it does, okay? So if you are feeling a bit lost, don't worry about that. You are going to maybe feel a little bit lost, but we will go slow and I will make sure that I try and explain it as best I can. And if you are still not certain, then you send me an email and I can see if I can send you some links to the YouTube videos from previous lessons. You can also go to the Africa Teen Geek website and there you will find the links to YouTube videos and perhaps some other resources that can help you to catch up to where we are now. Okay, so let us move on into today's lesson. So here are some coding principles. They're different this week from last week. And I said that I'm going to ask you guys to give me last week's coding principles, but I realized last week that there are some things that some of the students get wrong often. So I wanted to just address that before we start trying to remember them completely. So the first one is we always start by solving the easiest problem first. So some of these puzzles, the puzzles problem that we have to solve is quite big. So it's always easier to try and break that down into smaller problems, and then we solve them one at a time. So we're only writing small bits of code or creating small bits of code, and then we put it all together. It just makes it that much easier. And the second one is the same idea. So we first want to create a sequence and test it out. And then if we know that it works, then we put it into a loop. Okay, so for those of you that don't know yet, a loop is when we have a repeat block and one piece of code, we call it a sequence, runs over and over. Okay, so it's easier to spot problems and to figure out what the sequence should look like before we put it into a loop. And then we put it into a loop if we need to. And then lastly, we want to make sure that we are using the correct amount of loops. So in those repeat blocks, we can say if we wanted to repeat 5 times or 10 times, and especially the younger students, they like to just choose a higher number. But in the earlier puzzles, that's okay. Once the solution has been found for the puzzle, the program will stop running. But in the later puzzles, and we are getting to that stage now, if you put too many loops or the number is too high, then the program will keep running and then we're going to have an error. So today we are supposed to start with lesson 11, while loops with the farmer. Now these are known as conditional loops. So while a condition is true, then the loop will still happen, okay? And I'll show that to you shortly. But before we can get there, we never finished off completely on yesterday's lesson. So I want to go back to that. Let me just navigate to that screen, and that is here. Okay, so this one we did yesterday quickly together, and I'm just going to talk through this one, and then the next two we can do together. Okay, so for this, oh yes, the link. Thank you, Junior, and glad to see you again. I missed you a couple of days now. Welcome back. So there's the link. Then you are on the same puzzle as I am. You can click on that link, and then it will navigate to the same page in your browser window. If the code isn't filled in on yours, then you can just fill it out. So while you guys navigate there, I'm going to walk through this entire page because we have new students and they need to understand exactly what this page has and offers us. Otherwise, even if they go and try and catch up, they're going to struggle. So the first thing we have here is it's the lesson number. We are at lesson 11, and we are doing if else with be, okay? And these are the puzzles that we have already done in this lesson. And the white ones are puzzles that we still have to do, okay? The flags are extras, and we don't do them in this class. These extras, you can go and do them by yourselves, right? So for each new puzzle, I will copy and paste the link like I did there, and then you can follow along. So this entire thing revolves around the instructions here. So we need to always read these instructions, and they will tell us what we have to do. So once we've read the instructions, we look at the play area, which is here where you can see the B and the nice colors, and we can adjust that to be larger, or we can make it smaller. But for our purposes, we like it nice and big. And this is where the magic happens. So all the coding we do will be acted out here, okay? Then right next to it, we have the toolbox, and these are all different blocks. Like these ones are action blocks, and an action block is going to tell the character to do something. This is an if block, and that is known as a conditional block. So I will explain this once we get into the code, and this is a repeat block. I've already mentioned the repeat blocks. Okay, and this is the workspace where we create our code, and this is where we build the solution that's going to make the B do what he has to do. So this is in the format of block coding, okay? And we learn block coding so that we can understand how code works and so that we can have a visual reference. But actual code looks like this. And this is what is known as line and text-based coding, right? But this comes when you are a little bit older and you have a good understanding of this, okay? So in the workspace, we are limited to how many blocks we can use, and there's always one block there. This when run block is always there, and the reason for that is this when run block is tied and connected to this run button under the play area. So the moment we click on the run button, this block will activate any code that is under it, but it will only activate code that is touching it. So you can see here, this code is not touching it. It is grayed out. So when I hit run, it's going to tell me, oh no, there is unused code there. So we need to make that touch, okay? And as you saw there, you should not be afraid to use this run button to test your code. If you want to test step by step, then you use the step button. So once we hit the step button, it's going to do only one action at a time. You can see that it's only doing that move forward, okay? Now it's going to do the conditional block. Then it's going to turn. Now it's going to go back to the move forward, okay? So the step button is for us to see singular blocks of code being acted out one at a time. If we have code here that we don't want to use, we just click it and drag it off back into the toolbox, and then it's off of the workspace. Okay, and we want to keep the workspace clean. So if we are building our code and once we finished, we found our solution, it looks like this, then we want to remove these ones that are not being used. Okay, in computer language, that code will still be read and the program will still try to run it. So it can slow down the device that the program is running on. Okay, I think that was a good run through of how the interface works. Now let's start with this puzzle that we have in front of us. So the challenge, there will be either a flower or a honeycomb under each of those clouds. So because it's saying or, that implies that we do not know. We don't know if it is going to be a flower or a honeycomb. So collect nectar once if there is a flower, otherwise make honey once because there is a honeycomb. Okay, please remember to try and not switch on your videos. Accidents happen and that's okay, but try to keep them off. Okay, so what this is telling us, two things here. There is either a flower or a honeycomb. We do not know, it's hidden. The next thing is that if there is a flower, it will have only one nectar that we have to collect. That's okay, don't worry, Ayanda, mistakes happen. Right, if there is not a flower and there is a honeycomb, we will only have to make honey once. Okay, so that is important for us to remember. So now we start by saying, okay, the first problem that we want to solve, I'm going to pull this code apart. And now this is all pulled apart. Okay, the first problem we want to solve is we want to make the bee move from here to there. Now for that we use a move forward block. He has to move 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3. So we can put 3 move forward blocks, and that will tell him to move forward 3 times. But we are limited to the amount of blocks that we can use. So now we're using 4 blocks to make him move 3 spaces. But if we use a repeat block and we put the move forward inside the repeat block, we are only using 3 blocks. Okay, so we're using 1 less block. And how a repeat block works is it says repeat this many times, whatever is inside. Okay, so now we know that if we test this, this is the easiest problem. So we solve this one first. Move the bee from there to there. If we run it, that works. Okay, don't mind this thing saying that we didn't solve it. That's okay. We are not testing the entire problem. We just want to solve the first part of the problem. Okay, now we don't know what is under this. So we need a way for the bee to check what is there. So what we need to do, yes, Junior, you're right. Everything that was there was right. This is just a walkthrough. Okay, so what we need to do is to use an if-else conditional block. So what that means is, if the first condition, so if at a flower is true, then he will do what is in here. If he is at the flower and it is false, so there is no flower. If he is at the space and there's something else, like a honeycomb, then it will be a make honey. Okay. Now, in this example and in this puzzle, there can only be 2 options. There can only be either a flower or a honeycomb. Okay. So we say, if at the flower, please get nectar. And if you are not at the flower, this is false, then you need to make honey. Okay. So now we're going to tell him to do this 3 times, right? That's not needed to do it 3 times because the problem is right at the end. It's not on every single block. So we can actually put this outside the repeat. So if we put it inside the repeat, it's going to happen 3 times. If we put it outside, it's only going to happen once after this has happened. Remember, code runs sequentially. So whatever's first will happen first. So we can run this and test to see. Okay, good. So we saw he moved 3 spaces. He came here. He checked. He saw if at flower was false. So he skipped the get nectar. He did this one. He made honey. Okay. So right after he's done that, we need to turn him so that he moves this way. For that, we use a turn right block. This turn right can also be toggled to left, but for this exercise, remember, he's walking down and he wants to go this way. So it looks like our left, but it is the bee's right, the character's right. So we need to go right. Now, this entire thing is the solution for one path. But all the other paths in here are looking exactly the same. So what that means is that we can use the same code to solve all 4 the sides of the square. But we don't want to copy this code down here again because we only have 1 block left that we can use. If we copy this again, we're going to use another 6 blocks. So what we do is we put all of that into a big repeat. And this is what we call a nested loop. So now what we are saying, yes, you make a nest. Good job, D. Now what we are saying is 4 times you do all of this code. So 4 times you're going to move forward 3 times. You're going to check for a flower. If it's a flower, get nectar. If it's not, make honey. And then you'll turn right. And once he's done that, this repeat block will go back there and it'll do this again until it's done it 4 times. So we can run this, and there we can see that it's working. This code is perfect. There are no problems here. You're not even wasting any code. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next one just because we are a bit behind on the schedule. For those of you that are new, if you still feel confused, don't worry. It will become easier the more time you spend with us. Okay, so collect all of the nectar or make all the honey. You can only collect it from flowers and make honey from honeycombs. Check any space to see if there is a flower or honeycomb. There will only ever be one flower or one honeycomb behind each cloud. Okay, so here we are again with this term variables. The variable, they can either be a flower or a honeycomb, sorry, a flower or a honeycomb. If there is a flower, we need to collect nectar. There's the get nectar block. If there is a honeycomb, we need to make honey. So there is the make honey. Okay. Now, the important thing here is we want to solve the easiest problem first. And I see you are already doing that in the chat box. Good job. The easiest problem is we need to move to these spots. If we are not on them, we cannot check them. So we move forward. So once we've moved forward, now we need to do something when we are here. Okay. Remember, we first want to solve the problem before we put it in a repeat loop. Okay. Especially with new students here. So take it one step back. There we go. We have an if-else block. So if we are at the flower, we need to do what? Tell me in the chat box. Get nectar, good. And if else, if we are not at a flower, what do we need to do? If this is false, we need to make honey. Great. Good. I see even the new students are chatting in here and helping us answer and fix this, and great. Okay, so now we run this first, the easiest problem. We move one time and we check whether our code works. So we run that. If we can get it to run, please run. I don't know why it doesn't want to run. There we go. I had to click off of the chat first. Okay, so there we can see it works. But we need to do that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. So there everyone is telling me, put it in a loop. Come on, sir. We've been saying it from the start. And we want to loop it 7 times. Yes, now we can put it in a loop 7 times. So the reason why I want you to do the loop last is if you have a problem here, and you have it in a loop, it becomes very difficult to see the problem. Okay. And it also helps us to not do something like this. Remember, in the previous exercise, we needed to have this outside the loop. But in this exercise, it needs to be in the loop. So it's easier to identify where this one needs to be outside or inside if we first solve the small problems. Let's run this and see if we are right. Come on, just work. There we go. Great. Do you understand this? Can I move on, or do you want me to talk about this puzzle again? Understood. Okay. Right. So I have 3 that says we can move on. I think we're okay. We can move on. And we have 11 participants today. Well done. I hope this is because you guys are inviting your friends to come and join us. That would be awesome. Okay, so let's see. Conditionals can be helpful even when you know exactly what is in each spot. Collect all of the nectar and make all of the honey. So in the previous exercise, we didn't know what was there. So we used the conditional to do that. In this exercise, we know what is there. Good. In this exercise, we know what is there, but we only have 1 get nectar block and 1 make honey block to use. So this solution is going to look exactly the same as the previous one. We're going to move forward. We're going to check. Then we're going to do that if the statement is true. If the statement is not true, we do that. Okay. and then this entire thing goes into a loop, and it happens 7 times. So they have us using the same code for 2 different problems, and the reason for that is so that we can see the different applications. So there are 3 different applications. Well, actually 2 different applications. The one is if we don't know what there is. The second one is if these are not spaced evenly. So we cannot just say repeat get nectar every move forward once. So let's say there was a flower every 2 spots here. Then we could have said move forward twice, get nectar once, repeat that, and you're done. But because these are not spaced evenly, we cannot do it that way. Okay. And if we don't know what's there, we need to do it this way also. So what do you guys think? Can we move on to lesson 12? Are you ready for lesson 12? Okay, let's move on. Good. Go to lesson 12. Okay, just before we start this, remember now, if you keep this link open after the lesson and you click on the small flag there at the top, you can do the extras like the ones we've just seen. Okay, we just don't have time to do all of them in the classes as well. So here's the link if somebody has lost it. We are at lesson 12, puzzle number 1, and we are doing while loops. So I'm going to tell you what a while loop is when we see one. We don't have one here now. Okay, so what we are going to do now is just solve this problem. We only have one move forward block, and here we can see is a new block, remove 1. And that means we need to remove that pile. So if we are unsure of what they mean, we read here first. We say, hi, I'm a farmer. I need your help to flatten the field on my farm so it's ready for planting. Move to the pile of dirt and use the remove block to remove it. Okay, so because this is easy, we don't even have to start with sequencing. We can just put loops immediately. There, you guys have already given me the solution in the chat box. So I'm not just doing what I want to do. And I see everyone seems to be agreeing that it's 4 times. And after we've done that, what do? Remove. So where do we put this remove? Inside the loop or underneath the loop? Outside. Yes, under. Good. So we put it outside because we are going to move, then remove. If we put it inside, what will happen is we're going to move 1 time and then remove immediately. And then we're going to move again and remove again. So this is going to make us remove once 4 times. But there's only 1 pile that we need to remove. So we're wasting code if we do it that way. It'll still work, I think. Let's see. No, it is now digging holes. Look at that. You see. So in the previous exercises, this would have worked. But now it's becoming much more finicky. Aha, if we had an if else, then it would have been different. Yes, it's coming. Don't you worry. It's becoming very difficult. This farmer puzzle, I myself struggled with it. I did it a couple of days ago and it's not easy. So what do you guys think? Do we need to visit this one again or can we continue? I think this one was easy enough. For continue, another one for continue, 3 for continue. Let's go. You guys like it, challenge. I see this graph. Don't want the easy one, take the hard one. I saw that. Okay, good. Okay, just give me a second. Right, I should be good to go now. Right, so this is saying move to the hole and fill it with 6 shovelfuls of dirt using the fill block. Okay, Tiana, I'm glad you say that. So We're using the full block here. In the previous one, we had a new one that said remove. Now we have a full block. So what is the first block of code that I need to put here? Let's go. Let's see what you guys have to say about this one. Move forward, yes. And then a loop, yes. Full inside, but now this says full one, but there are 6 holes. The hole is 6 units deep. So we have to fill one. How many times to get it to 6? Azine says 7 times. 6 times. Okay. So this is where I want to show you this. Okay. I know that you all realize it's 6 times, but I want to show you this. Do you see what happens here when we loop too many times? Now she's made a pile. This farmer has made a pile because we are looping too many times. So right when I started with you guys, yes, oops. Right when I started with you guys, I told you it's important when we do loops, make sure that you are putting it the right amount of times, even though the solution might be found. Okay, it's fine, Razine. This is how we learn, and it helps me to show you something and why I say what I say. Okay, so we've got it in a 6, and then we fill it out. Good. So what do you think? Are we going to continue? Good. Right. I like the enthusiasm. Let's see what's coming up next. Okay. Move to the pile of dirt and tell me how many shovelfuls to remove. Use as few blocks as possible to solve this problem. We only have 4 blocks that we can use. So let's see. Okay, move forward, you say. What's next? Loop 10. And what do we put in the, oh, remove. There we go. Even before I ask the question. Let's check. And we are good to go. Oops, sorry, I wanted to enlarge that. Okay, continue. Woo. Okay, so now we're on to puzzle number 5 already. I will not mind if we go faster in this one. Yes, for now it's so easy. Okay, so look closely at the code below. What will happen after you click run? Okay, so we are going to move forward. Now, this is where our conditional repeat is coming in. Yes, it does get harder very quickly. While there is a pile, remove 1. So read this carefully. When run, move forward. Then while there is a pile, remove 1. So in the previous ones, we would have just said repeat 8 times. But now this is saying while there is a pile, do this. So which answer is the correct one up here? Is it nothing will happen? The farmer will never stop removing dirt. The farmer will remove dirt as long as there is a pile, then stop when the pile is gone, or I don't know. We can never choose D in my class, never. Okay, and all of you are saying C. I also think it's C. Let's see what is happening when we choose C. Great. I'm going to move on because you all have that understood. So now we have an option here. Can we use a repeat with a number for this problem? Yes or no? I have 1 answer, 2, 3 answers. No, we cannot. Why not? Why can we not use a repeat with a number here? Look at, yes, we don't know how much there is. There is a question mark there. Okay, if this was a little bit small, I tried to make it bigger for you. Okay. We do not know how many piles of dirt there is here. So we cannot put a repeat by number because what number will you put in there? We don't know. So what we have to do, okay, D says we can use this repeat to move forward twice, but we only have to move forward once. So for this example, we won't need this, but yes, we might want to use this in a different example later on when we are using the repeat for something other than removing the dirt, okay? So for this, we're going to use this loop while there is a pile. And this can be changed as well while there is a hole or while there's a path ahead. So let's fix this one. It's a move forward while there is a pile. What do we do? Fill up, remove dirt, turn left, remove. Okay. I just want you to take notice of this now. Now we're using remove and fill. But if there was something like path ahead, would we still use remove, or could you then use turn left, turn right, or move forward? What do you think? Okay, yes, good. I just wanted to make sure you guys understood. So the action block that we put inside the while loop is going to be determined by what this is saying here. Okay. So let's go. And there were 10 of them. So now it works. Just excuse me while I take a sip of water. You can tell me in the chat, are we going to continue on to the next puzzle or not? Okay. Let's see if something can become a challenge for us today. You haven't been challenged today yet, not yet. But it's coming, I promise you. Ah, look at this. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay, so before we get into this, for the new students, I just want to introduce this block. Okay, this is a comment block, and what this does is it allows us to put in comments like this will dig, hole. But when we have a comment block there and we put code, the comment block doesn't change how the code will work. If I show you the code here in text form, this is for when we are writing code. For example, when I am writing code, for those that know me, you know that I use computer code to create web content, so websites and things like that. So when I'm writing code, sometimes my code is 5 or 6 pages long. It's not just 2 or 3 lines like this. So then I want comments like this one to help me read the code so that I can quickly find problems if I have problems. Okay. So we can use it in block coding as well, and they have it here for us so that we can do it that way. So the challenge is we need to remove all this dirt. Yeah, it tells us, help me remove all of this dirt, not just some of it, all of this. Okay, bye, Tiana. See you tomorrow. And we need to do it in 5 blocks. We need to do it in 5 blocks. So you tell me, what do I do? Okay, so let me just see. Loop 5 inside, move under it while pile ahead, remove in. Okay, it's a bit difficult to read there, but let's see. I think what he says was do this. Loop 5 inside move. Okay. Under it, while there is a pile, we put remove inside. So this is, I think, what D is telling us is the solution that he or she is thinking about. I don't know who D is. Okay, let's run it and see. Okay, D is a he. Hello, D. and that didn't seem to work. And the reason is we are telling him or the farmer to move 5 times, and then after having moved 5 times, we are checking if the pile is still there, we are removing dirt. Aha, now we getting somewhere. Nested. Like this. Do you all agree that this is the way that we should do this? Who else is with D? Rita, what do you guys think? Okay, Ayanda says yes. Gao says no. Rita says yes. Good. I like it if there's a difference of opinion, because then we can learn something. There's only one way to find out. We need to hit the run button. I don't know about you all, but it seems to me like that worked. Okay. Rita's saying try it 6 times. Let's do that. Let's practice a bit here. This is the best way for us to learn. D said it worked after trial and error. Yes, that's a lot of the time how code works. Ayanda, it would be better if you visited the YouTube link and you went and watched the videos there instead of recording it. Okay, I'm not sure if this is set up to allow you to record. I don't think so. Okay, Rita, did you see what happens when we put in 6 times? In the previous levels, if we had put in 6 times, once the solution has been found, all the dirt has been removed, the program would have stopped working. But now it is telling us, no, you need to be better than that. You need to put in the right amount of loops. You don't have to apologize at all. That's the way we learn. We test it. We put in crazy stuff here. We hit run and see what happens. That's the easiest way for us to learn. But now we need to talk through this quickly. Okay. So what we have here is, again, you guys already saw from the start that there will be 5 times that the same code has to happen. And we can see that from the pattern here. We can also see it from the amount of blocks that we're allowed to use. Yes, trial and error works in coding. You're right. So we can see it from this and we can see it from there. We are going to use a 5 times repeat. And because this is relatively easy still, we can start with the repeat. Okay. But if you're unsure, take the repeat away and first solve one spaces problem, which is what we did here. And there where we had that problem in the beginning, where we did this, if we started without the first repeat 5, we only started with the code, then we would have seen that these two cannot be separated. They need to be together. Okay. Because we would have tested it and we would have seen, oh, it works there. So if you see it works there, then you would never think to separate them once you put them in the loop. You would know to keep them together. Okay, so that is why I always say, and for this, I don't mind. It's small code and it's not difficult, but wherever you are faced with a big problem, test your sequence first. Write your sequence, test it. Once you know it works, now you start looping it. Okay? Remember, if coding ever turns into a school subject and you're going to be doing exams and tests and things on that, you will be tested on the idea of workflow. How do you approach the problem and what steps are you taking to solve the problem? Okay? Now, trial and error works for coding, but in a testing and schooling environment, that isn't such a good thing. So it's very easy for us. Okay, so some of you are saying it is a subject in your school. So it's very easy for us to just put random code here and hit test and see, oh, it doesn't work. And now we move the code there and then we hit test and we see it doesn't work. The way for a teacher or an instructor to see that you understand what you are doing is by checking the way in which you approach the problem. So the way I would have liked to see this happening is, okay, we have one problem, move forward. Great, that's how we solve that. The next thing, we need to remove dirt. So this is the loop we're going to use, and we want to make it remove because we want to remove the dirt. And then I would like to see you test it. And I would like to see, okay, you realize that works. So now you put everything into a loop and repeat it 5 times. Okay. Sorry, let me just hit this again. There we go. Okay. So I want to look at the next puzzle, but we will touch on it again tomorrow because we're running out of time. Okay, so let us look at the next one. Are you ready though? Do you want to look at the next one? Okay, everyone is saying yes. Well, most of you are, at least. Look at this. So, this is actually a fun one. I'm going to put this link in the chat box. Copy it, paste it, save it somewhere. Go and try to solve this all by yourselves, okay? And then tomorrow when we come back, you tell me what the solution is, okay? For those of you that cannot, that's fine. You just visit us tomorrow again, and then you can find out what the solution is. But for the rest of you, if you have the ability to, keep this link open. If you cannot copy it from the text box, copy it from your web browser after you've clicked here, okay? And then we check this out tomorrow. So you can read here what it wants you to do, okay? So look at all those holes. Each one needs a different amount of dirt. You can use the while loop to easily fill them in. You only have 10 blocks. Let's see if someone can do this in less than 10 blocks. I'm going to try and do it in less than 10. Let's see if somebody else can do it in less than 10. I don't know if I can. Let's try. Okay. So that brings us to the end of today's lesson. And there's my email address again. If you've got any questions or if you find the solution to that problem I just showed you, feel free to send me that before the class even starts. Okay. Tomorrow we are going to try and finish lesson 12. Go and give us a follow on these social media handles, and remember to use these hashtags, and remember to invite more of your friends. Thank you for those of you who did, and I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye and stay safe.